I'll be talking, can everyone see my screen? I think so. Just let me know though in chat. So what I wanted to focus on tonight is the process of detoxifying and why that's important. Yep, groovy, thank you. Now, detoxifying is a natural process that occurs in the body, and there's reasons why we toxify almost inadvertently, and there's reasons why we do need to detoxify. Cool, cool, cool. And Lucy, I saw something, it's a bit slow for you. Okay. And this could be why. So what I'm going to talk about tonight, now I'll just share a couple of slides on my background, but certainly I know if the liver or the detox pathways of the body are not keeping up, then people can get these symptoms. You know, they can get bad breath, they can get puffy around their eyes, they can get bloated, they can burp a lot or just have discomfort. They can feel really uncomfortable from time to time, and they can put weight on over the day. But more importantly, if someone wants to lose weight, there is a detox component to it. Now, I'm not talking about the Ozempic way of losing weight. I'm talking about the sustainable, natural way of losing weight. And there's multiple reasons for that. One of them being that adipose tissue in itself acts like a toxic carrier and stores a lot of toxins in there. So as that weight, the white weight, is prompted to use up all that stored energy, because that's all white fat is. We've got two fat cells, brown fat, white fat. As the white fat starts to release all that stored energy, you can release a lot of toxic matter as well. And in fact, you know, my entry into from nursing to pharmaceuticals and rapidly into weight loss was understanding that the body detoxes when it loses weight. So for those who don't know, I'm a hospital trained Royal Hobart nurse and then went to uni. So because I was the kind of the last wave of the OGs nursing, where we believe we're much better than uni trained, but I went on and did postgrad studies in critical care and ICU and emergency. Then I was in pharmaceutical repping for 9 years, and I got a diploma in pharma. It was called MedRep, and it was the first year of pharmacy at Sydney Uni. It was a mismatch, actually. It was a diploma from Sydney Uni in pharmacology. And I then I've always loved natural medicine, the impact on the body. So qualified and got a degree in health science, or bachelor in health science, and I majored in herbal medicine, naturopathy, and nutrition. I've got 3 kids. I just spoke to one of them then. And I've got 10 published books. My 11th one is sitting there waiting for a little bit of free time for me to do some last edits, and it's on hormones in the workplace. This was one of those pivotal moments in my life where I wrote a book back in 2009 on hormones. And this was after I'd had a clinic with 5 staff as a naturopath. 50% of my patients were referred by doctors, and I was finding again and again and again this this thing in women where they couldn't relax. They struggled with belly fat. They had menopause symptoms or PCO or endometriosis symptoms. They had whiskers. There's a whole conglomerate of symptoms that were not being talked about by doctors or publicized. I'm not too sure what happened then, but someone got to draw on my screen. Great. I'm not too sure how I get rid of them either now. Just to see if I can erase it. That's never happened before. There we go. Not too much of a problem. So now I've specialized in hormones, specifically belly fat, menopause, burnout, infertility, period problems, endometriosis, PCO, weight, and acne. They're things that I could talk underwater about day after day, because once people understand their body, and I'm very passionate about this, they can manage these things very naturally. After that first book, I was interviewed by Lisa Wilkinson down there. I was on Today's Show incredible amount of times. This isn't all the interviews, but mostly around hormones, women, why we get into the pickles we get into from a hormone perspective. Now, I'm talking about detoxing tonight, but cortisol, the stress hormone, is one of our driving issues. so's estrogen levels, so's progesterone, but we make a cacophony of other hormones that also confuse our body incredibly so. They're just some of the, things I've talked about. And let's get back to detoxing. So we are exposed from what we'd call exogenous, so elements outside of our body. So things like carpet in cars. So let's just talk about the carpet in a brand new car. It emulates or into the environment the same amount of xenoestrogens as if you're on the pill. They say that sitting in traffic for a couple of hours a day is also like being on the pill, just from the exogenous toxins that you're being exposed to. Now, some of them are synthetic, like, drugs. People forget that pharmaceuticals are not natural. Pharmaceutical drugs are mostly synthetic. I mean, paclitaxel, a chemotherapy that I sold, is from the North Oregon tree and is from the sap, and could be debated whether it's natural or not. But majority of drugs are synthetic. There's also, social drugs. Excuse me. The big thing, though, is environmental pollutants, animal antibiotics, animal, well, dare I say it, mRNA jabs. There's so many exogenous toxins attacking our body now that our beautiful little temple is being bombarded. It's under attack. Now, that's notwithstanding that we produce our own toxic matter, and they're called endogenous, endo from within. Now, endogenous matter can be accelerated by stress. Certainly our gut flora is a major place of toxic production within the body. And if someone has a gut that's not, in harmony or balance, then you'll produce a lot more toxic matter than someone who does have one of those robust, healthy gut floras. I mean, I only put this together today. I thought I had my previous detox PowerPoint, and it's probably obsolete because some of the pictures I've got are from 2007 when I gave a presentation. I can't find the other ones. But look how much, sugar is toxic to our body and very pro-inflammatory. And yet it's in all these things that you can easily find in any shelf. Water, great, but, the others, really crazy. Now, at the time of writing this, which I did cut and paste this from 2000 that I wrote in 2007 for a presentation back there, I suspect this has gone up a little bit. But back then, there was 75,000 chemicals listed with the EPA. Now, I've had a debate with our local council about the use of glyphosate which is Roundup, on the grass across the way here, because it is, it's highly linked to lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And there's a case going through Australia at the moment with 800 people suing Bayer, who are now the owners they took over from Monsanto for Roundup. They're suing them, and there'll be an out-of-court settlement for it for sure. 800 people with non-Hodgkin's is a huge number. Non-Hodgkin's, it sounds like a lot of people, but it's not. It's a huge number of people for a condition that doesn't affect that many people. And they've all put their hand up and said, hey, I've got this from Roundup, but our council continues to use it, and they spray, and you can see it. It's a blue spray that the little council workers, well, they're all contractors, come out in the backpack and they spray it, and it leaves this blue ring around the weeds. And they're like, oh no, it's fine. You go, hang on, these kids are about to run across it. How is that fine? We're just becoming really complacent about things that are deadly. So back in 2007, only 25% of those chemicals that were listed with the EPA had been checked for toxicity. And interesting, many of them are listed for toxicity, but no one does anything about it. For example, mercury fillings, which are in a lot of people's mouths over the age of 50, so that's how they used to do amalgams, is permitted in this country that I live in through grandfather, it's called a grandfather clause. So mercury is the second most deadliest element to a human behind lead, but because it came through and was widely used in the 50s and 60s, they've permitted it to go through under this grandfather clause. Good, you got your mercury fillings out. If anyone's thinking about getting the mercury fillings out, when I do the hair test, and I'll show you an example of one in a minute, it picks up toxicity. And sometimes if I'm helping or assisting someone with cancer or something quite, not a hormone issue, then I will do heavy metal test on their hair to determine if it's lead or arsenic or mercury or whatever the matter may be. I've had some very interesting findings from, the Murray River Basin, from different cohorts. But, the first thing I think of when I see toxicity on a hair test is two things I think of: vaccinations or a cracked mercury filling. And mercury has a half-life of 125 years, and it can be inhaled. So it's just takes the tooth as we age, or if we grind, to crack, and that mercury can leach up into our gums and can go straight from the mouth, the gum, to the brain. So there is no blood-brain barrier between your teeth and your brain, which is why oral hygiene is so critical. So just something to think about. Excuse me. I'll just pause for a second, have a little glass of water. So other common toxins. I mean, people sometimes don't think of this. I'm sure by volition that you're on here that you're already invested and aware of a lot of these things. But carpets and furniture, formaldehyde. But I was the go-to person, I don't know if you remember the show called Today Tonight, before it became, the Channel 7 one, not the Tracy Grimshaw one. And I used to get asked to do their natural medicine. I was their go-to person as the naturopath specialist. Anyway, they asked me to do this talk on formaldehyde. And so I had to do, all this research, last minute, of course, and I was blown away. So furniture, clothes, most of those things that are imported from Burma or Myanmar, Bangladesh, India, all those countries are sprayed with formaldehyde, either upon leaving the country or when they get to the shipping yards or shipping docks in Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, they go through and spray everything. And formaldehyde is, sometimes they spray over in those countries just on the water. So formaldehyde's antibacterial, but it is also formaldehyde. Like, we know it's not safe. So sometimes when you get those clothes that smell, it's like, you're probably inhaling a nice big breath of formaldehyde. Food contaminants. I could elaborate on this now. The toxic matter in food has escalated incredibly in the last 20 years. And when I hear my medical colleagues going, we don't know why cancer's gone up, it's just, we're scratching our heads. I feel like going, give me a break. The only things that have changed that dramatically in the last 20 years are your lifestyle things. Vaccine load and food has been changed radically so that a lot of food wouldn't even classify as food. Some of the takeaways or things that come in packets, you're hard pressed to find an actual element in there that would classify as a food. Then you've got sodium lauryl sulfate, acetone, lead, aluminium in water, arsenics in lots of things, cadmium. I pick up on the heavy metal test that I do, which I don't do routinely. I do it on my 3-month and 6-month clients. We'll often find cadmiums up. Mercury, as I mentioned before, and mercury, interesting, the FDA many moons ago now recommended that pregnant women don't eat tuna and deep sea fish because of mercury levels. So rather than intervening at that point, instead we'll just take out a whole incredible food group for people to eat rather than address the real issue. Water. The water you're drinking could be one of the most toxic contaminants in your life. I filter my water. I could step it up a little bit more actually. On the Gold Coast where I am, they added fluoride to the water only about 8 years ago. It might not have been that long. There was some major thing going on and it was meant to go to referendum. But instead, what they did was use the opportunity to start putting fluoride in our water. Prior to that, we didn't have it. And in fact, there's 72 countries around the world that actively remove fluoride from the water because it is neurotoxic. Now, this is a different way of thinking of things, but our beautiful temple also can have its own toxic matter. So if we're low on B12 or folic acid, we end up with something called elevated, or homocysteine is the thing. I measure that when I do bloods on people. I'll always get homocysteine measured. It is more accurate for predicting heart disease and stroke than cholesterol levels. So homocysteine level can be done on a routine blood test. And if it's high, then you give the person B12 and folic acid, and it should bring it down. As living organisms, we produce oxygen-free radicals. And I always think of oxygen-free radicals as like, oh, this is showing my age, but like Pac-Man. They go bouncing around off the interior of our body and the intimal lining of our cell walls, and creates a lot of harm, wear and tear, aggravation, inflammation. And these free radicals, our body squashes or renders useless by using antioxidants. So antioxidants are in our food, but if we're not eating those foods that are high in antioxidants, then these oxygen-free radicals can flourish away, cause cancers, they definitely age us, and vascular disease. Now, the microbe in your tummy is incredibly important. If we don't have the right mix, or methane, if anyone's smelled H2SO4, rotten egg gas, ammonia, which is just, I think from memory, it's N3. My son would laugh at me. I think it's not N3O or something or other. That's the chemical thing for ammonia, butane. We should not be producing those things. We need good levels of microbes in our gut. Stress will wipe it out. Alcohol wipes it out. Travel wipes them out. I've just come back from Bali and had a terrible Bali belly. It wiped out most of my gut, I'm pretty sure. Then we end up with a low immune system, leaky gut, and end up with that, IBS, flatulence, weight gain, and many other things that have been picked up in studies that are associated with having the wrong mix in your gut. In fact, there's a really cool book called, I think it's called Rewild. Nice. Right. That's interesting about the tuna and getting poisoning. I think this book's called Rewild or Rewild. Yeah, Rewild. There's this book that I read a couple of years ago, and I wish I could remember his name. He was almost like me, watch human behaviors and match the science to what we're observing. And he was in New York, and he noticed that, I can't remember the full story, but he knew that there was a link between chimpanzees and apes in New York Zoo and their health, and he wanted to see and humans in New York versus what was happening in the savannah. And the whole book's about him, and he did many studies looking at gut microbiome. And what he found is that in the, I've forgotten the name of the tribe, Rewild, that's it, thank you. What he found was that the Hunza tribe in Africa would, they're the most primal tribe left on the planet. They would go out, hunt down their bison or whatever the animal was, slice it open, turn it inside out, and they still do this to this day. They bring the animal back, the village lines up, and they rub the guts of the animal all over everyone in the village. And what he found was that the the microbes in those tummies of those village people, it led to incredible health versus the microflora of someone in New York, and including the monkeys and the apes in the zoo, which had very few. He has also done a lot of studies, and there's also a lot of other people investigating this, Danish studies and around Europe, where they've taken village by village gut samples and shown that depending on your microbe will depict your weight. Really interesting stuff. So the other effects of having toxins in your body is the hormone confusion. Now that's really my lane: menopause, burnout, weight, high cortisol, insomnia, acne, PCO, prostate cancers. They're all hormone imbalances. So not addressing someone's toxic load is not really treating the whole person. We know the thyroid, and actually most of the glands that are fat, because they're made of a particular material, like the ovaries, the thyroid, prostate tissue, are very sensitive to toxins and often will absorb toxins. We don't want that. So how does our body get rid of toxic matter? It uses the skin. Skin's our largest organ. You know, if we rolled ourselves out, we would be a big, ugly or fat looking tennis court. I don't know how that would look, but you know what I mean. Wouldn't it be nice to be rolled out? But you know, I guess the skin, the surface area of the skin is massive, and our body utilizes it quite well. It uses the pores that open and they sweat. And interesting, apart from the microbiome on the skin, which helps regulate and protect us immune-wise, there's also a lot of hormone matter on the skin, such as cortisol, which I find quite interesting. We've got 2 kidneys, generally. Some people miss one, but generally we've got 2 kidneys. Just if you put your hands behind your rib cage now, and just patting down the bottom of your rib cage, you're tapping your kidneys. They live tucked up over your waistline, under your rib cage. They're kind of virgin there, and we wee a lot of matter out. Now, the kidneys are a very incredible filtering machine. Having worked in intensive care for many, many years, we use dialysis all the time, and the simplicity but the complexity of what our kidneys do while we're asleep, while we're awake, is phenomenal. And it's pushing rubbish out, reabsorbing water, or if we're low in potassium, reabsorbs more potassium. Like, it's just incredible. Absolutely incredible. Our bowels are, like, these are all really important. I was going to say the bowels are one of the major detox organs, but it's not. I think of it as a waste house. Like, I think that's where a lot of waste gets tossed in, but so do the kidneys and the skin. So we make this lovely matter called feces, and in there are dead blood cells, toxic matter, all sorts of things, dead white blood cells, red blood cells, heme, lots of things. Excuse me. Our eyes can also be used to get rid of toxic matter. Our lungs, when we blow out, we blow off CO2, which the plants love, but is noxious for us, and other things we blow out through our lungs, and of course our darling livers. Now, I did turn to Google, and I did find this, which I thought was great. So the organs, so I missed lymph out, because what lymph does and what the blood does is they're the carriers of the body. So when we've got our heart beats, it pumps blood around the body. Some of it stays in the blood system. That's the stuff you'd recognize as being red, and it bounces out to all the cells. There's an exchange of matter at the cellular level. Nutrients get sent to it. Rubbish gets transported back, either in the bloodstream or via a drainage system our body has called lymphatic system. Now, the lymphatic system every day drains 1.5 to 2.5 litres of lymph fluid a day. So if someone has a lymph node enlargement or you put a tourniquet on their leg, it doesn't take long before they've got a big whopping swollen leg. And that's because the lymphatics are blocked. Now, the lymph matter drains back into the upper part of the right-hand side of our heart and then re-enters circulation again. Now, cleverly, a heart, as it pumps, takes the blood down. First, most of it, some goes up to the brain, but a lot of it goes to the liver. The first port of call is through the liver. Now, the liver, I would say, like the kidneys, is our other really incredible filter system. What our livers do is really remarkable. It does drag out a lot of toxic matter. It balances blood sugars. It helps with B12 and other clotting factors. It helps metabolize, well, it produces cholesterol. That's where we produce cholesterol, up in the liver, in response to cortisol. It does a lot of things. So our darling liver, I'll get everyone to do this at home. Just put your hand, left, right hand, down under your rib cage, and just kind of gently feel around there. And if you just spread your hand out over that, halfway mark of your rib lining, that's where your liver sits. Now, our liver should be this beautiful pink, fleshy, like the inside of your cheek material. And if you haven't seen liver before, you can go to the butcher and see what a liver looks like. It looks similar to a cow liver or beef, cow beef, any other animal's liver. And it does so much for us. What we're finding, though, due to high carbohydrate consumption, in America, 1 in 3 adults have what's called fatty liver, and that's not due to alcohol. So it's called non-alcoholic fatty liver syndrome. And that's because when the body is presented with too many carbohydrates, it goes, oh God, what am I going to do with this? I better start putting this layer of yellow fat around the liver. And it's called a fatty liver. Now, the way it's diagnosed is on a blood test and then an ultrasound. And usually someone's triglycerides are high. That's normally the giveaway. Happens with a lot of people with blood sugar issues and diabetes, because guess what? They've got a problem with sugar and carbohydrates and really should minimize it and see a nutritionist. The lungs play a role. So after the blood and the lymph have re-entered through the heart, they go down to the liver. Some go up to the brain and lungs, and as they pass through the alveoli in the lungs, toxic matter like carbon dioxide jumps over into our alveoli, and then we exhale and blow that off, and we draw in oxygen, which jumps back into the bloodstream to get taken to the cells. The colon plays a really big part because it gets rid of a lot of debris, and I've already mentioned our skin. This is a little bit more, I guess, diagrammatic, showing you how toxins can come through our skin or our lungs or our gut. The liver is the primary detoxification organ. And what it does, it'll store heavy metals and things in the spleen. It'll store pesticides, hormones, and things in fat cells, even bone marrow. And unfortunately, the central nervous system, which they believe is one of the main causes of Alzheimer's and things like that. To get rid of the toxins, our skin, our kidneys, our bowel, our lungs, and the toxins that are water soluble, like nicotine or vapors and things, tend to get positioned in our joint, blood tissues, and muscles. Now, all of these things, acne, as I said, weight, diabetes, diarrhea, cardiovascular disease, autoimmunity, fibromyalgia, will often come due to a toxic burden on your body. Now, just imagine these things are stored happily in there in the fat cells. You start releasing and opening up the adipose or the adipocytes or the adipose tissue, releasing that fat. Some people get a detox reaction when they start on weight loss programs, cleaning up their diet, or something like I've been, I guess I wouldn't say recommending, but helping people with at the moment, which is a hops extract. It works very well, but for some people, it's opening up the fat cells and they're dumping a lot of toxic matter in their body. So their results aren't instant. And some people are holding their weight, some are gaining their weight, majority are losing weight, but for those who aren't, we know that's what's going on. So how can you detox and support your body? There are lots and lots of ways. Now, remember the skin is a very important organ. Saunas are incredible. In fact, going from hot to cold, like Scandinavians have their little dip and then go and heat, stimulates blood flow to the skin, and you can drop a lot of toxic matter that way. It's a really good way to do it. Body wraps, I've had my share in Bali where I get wrapped up in either chocolate cacao or some seaweed goo, but also another great way to detox. Dry skin brushing, it's like a horse brush, and you just brush the top layers of the skin off, stimulating the skin. There's lots of applications you can use. Natural fabrics are good on the skin as opposed to synthetic fabrics, which disables the skin from doing its job. Similarly with deodorants and antiperspirants, I've been using, it's called Bear and, I've forgotten, it's called not Bear and Free. Anyway, it's just a natural, it's sodium bicarbonate with a couple of little odor things in there. It works a treat because our sweat pores need to sweat, but obviously dripping's not great. So with our kidneys, there are many natural diuretics. You can get teas. There's from nettles to dandelion. There's a lot of natural teas that help your kidneys detoxify. I think filtered waters are non-negotiable in 2024. And you can even alkalize your water. You put, I'm not necessarily recommending you do this. This is general information only, of course, but you could consider things like sodium bicarbonate, apple cider vinegar, and bowels. There are lots of natural bowel cleansers, herbs, cascara, licorice, marshmallow. And then there's also lots of fibers that help with the bowel. Psyllium, slippery elm are some of them. Drinking lots of water helps flush them. And even flushing from the outside in, a colonic is brilliant. Now, I didn't put there with the bowels, which I probably should have looking at this now. Fibers also in your broccoli and your spinach and your green leafies. Any vegetable that crunches has a lot of fiber. It's the water and the stringy stuff that's the fiber. I was thinking of something else then with your bowels. Will come back to me in a minute. Oh yeah, probiotics and fermented foods. Not everyone can tolerate fermented foods. And there's a phenomenon called FODMAPs, which I'll put in the chat that you might want to look up. Nice. FODMAPs. It stands for, and I always get this wrong, and interesting, the dietitian and the doctor who put together the FODMAPs food, I used to volunteer when I was working down at Monash Medical Centre with them. And but it stands for fructo-oligo-di-mono something or other saccharides. So it's about sugars that a lot of people struggle to break down. If you've got a FODMAPs issue, you'll struggle with garlic and onion. You'll struggle with gluten. You'll struggle with dairy. You'll struggle with fermented foods. So that might be things like sauerkraut or kimchi, which I adore, but I don't think it adores me. Anyway, that's an overshare. Yeah. And if you want to detoxify through your lungs, remember each breath you take is a potential opportunity to detoxify. There are things like salt rooms, inhalations, walking out by the beach, bushwalking, getting out of carpeted, painted rooms into the environment. So there are many ways to detoxify. Oh yeah, and the liver. I'm glad you asked. So we can use herbs. There's things like methionine, choline, taurine, lots of proteins that help with the liver. Lots of foods, broccoli, greens, herbs. Before jumping on here, my little herb garden, I just love it. I had some chards, some lettuce, some basil, some parsley, some Mexican, it's called Mexican not Mexican coriander. I don't know what it is, but it's amazing. All those things have phytonutrients in it that help your liver detoxify. Inositol, glycine, glutathione, cysteine, all really important. If you're eating a reasonably healthy diet, you should get them, but I do recommend doing a hair test. Now, water is important. You can get ionizers, filters, you can buy filtered water, you can distill your own rainwater. I just saw before someone does that. So a couple of simple detox ideas. Because I'm a specialist or naturopath, I tend to do the gut first and recommend what I'd call a stripping program. So using something to get the unwanted bacteria out and then put some probiotics back in. I use another product which is like high in chelating agents, so alfalfas and chlorella and green things, and then I'll do the liver last. These 1, 2, 3 things over the counter can make people really sick, and that's because you're detoxifying rapidly. Having said that, some people are all up for rapid and sick rather than slow and stronger, I guess. But this is a nice little one. Half a lemon, half a grapefruit, tablespoon of olive oil. You mix it each morning, you do it for 10 days, and it is brilliant. Now, if you're taking cholesterol-lowering medications or warfarin or anything else, you can't take grapefruit. I'm sure your doctors would have told you that, but grapefruit can't be taken with any drug that's taken down the cytochrome P450, which cholesterol drugs are. A few years ago, there's one called the lemon juice diet, and that was lemon juice, cayenne pepper, maple syrup, and water. Works beautifully as a simple detox. I don't know why it came in and went out again, but it was great. And as I said, I tend to use supplements and powders, but you can do things like brushing and colonics. And next February, I'm just confirming the dates, I'll have my 7-day detox in Bali. And I held it this year. It's just fantastic. So for 7 days, we go to a detox place, and it's in Ubud. Right, yeah, it's like 5-minute walk into the center of Ubud, and we get 6 colonics over the 7 days. You get skin brushing, all these lymphatic massages, a whole, each day there's 3 or 4 activities that you go and do on your body. I do morning meditation. We start the day with a walk. Should we start the day with a hello, miss? And they bring you a hot drink with lemongrass and ginger. So you drink that while you're getting ready. We all meet down in the foyer, go for a long walk in the paddies, and then we come back. Some people do yoga. I do my meditation, and it's a liquid fast over the week. So it's only juices, smoothies, or soups, and it is a brilliant way to detox. Very different to my other retreat I do in Bali, which is more for fun and nourishing yourself from a soulful level. Now, if you want to measure what's going on in your body, you can do things like ELFT, which are electrolyte liver function tests. But ELFTs only pick up if your liver's being damaged. And that's all doctors do. You can do functional liver profiles. And as I said, if I work for people in my 6-month programs, I will go and do further, more complicated or complex investigations. But for, most people, I would assume that they're, if they've got weight issues or hormone imbalance, that their liver's probably not 100%, or their detox pathways need some help. Now, the hair test I've talked about a little bit. This is one that shows you, this is a sample, like page 3, which gives you the summary. You can see here it's got environmental challenges, chemicals and hydrocarbons. This person needed a detox. Was it my first start with them? No, because it also showed me their adrenals needed help, and their hormone system and emotions. Now, I know if people detox when they're run down, it can make them worse. So I just don't do it. Yeah, I guess because I'm a practitioner, and I'm a nurse, first do no harm, and there's many ways to work around this. So detoxing solo on your own, you can do it, of course, but I obviously like helping people through the process. The hair test, if you haven't had it, it gives you 9 different areas, antioxidants, vitamins, proteins, different things like that. It'll tell you what needs addressing here. This person had a problem with sugar and they had a virus on board. And then it gives you food sources. As an example, some of the vitamins people might be low on. Now, I think that was it. So what I did want to say, if you did want to order your hair test, now Donna, I know you've done yours, you can go to here on this link here, or if you just go to my website, there are other options there. So this one here, I'll put it in chat if you click on it. That just takes you to hair test only, no consultation. If you did want to have a consultation with me, you can order that just on the sambopatrick.com under services and testing. You can order a hair test plus a consultation with me, and we can look at everything. But I'll open it up to questions. Let me know in the chat what other questions you might have about detoxifying. And I'll go back and have a little look. Yeah, that Rewild book's a good book. Does it work on, yes, so chemically treated hair, it does. So with the hair test, it works on sign patterning, and it works on all sorts of hair, but if you color your hair, you want to wait 7 days till after since it's been colored, and then do your hair sample. Essentially what you do is you pluck out 10 hairs, put it in foil and paper, and you send it along to a PO box. We run the test, and then we return the report. It's about 35 pages long, the report. And I should have put on here, actually, the other thing I like about the report is it gives you can track your progress over 90 days. So you've got the first one of typical toxic symptoms, and you tick them all, bad breath, not sleeping well, bloating, floaty poos, whatever it might be. Then 30 days in, you can redo it, and 60 and 90 days. I kind of like it because it gives you some feedback. Yep. Sandra Cobalt. Was the old Sandra Cobalt liver detox program a healthy way to detox? I think so. Look, I think she brought a lot to people's health, and I don't recommend products because they're over the counter, but certainly her products are fine. And obviously I can't manage the whole country with their health, so if that's all people can lean towards, then yes, I think her program was fine, solid, science-based, a great advocate for health. Do I support parasitic cleanse? For sure, 100%. I think I use something called Parex, or I've been using another company, which basically the ingredients in there. So parasites are everywhere. They're under our nail beds from, patting dogs. They're in sushi. They're in pork. The parasites are just part of life. And I think in the past we were either more resilient and didn't get as affected by them, or maybe we did. I mean, grinding your teeth is a real indicator that you've got parasites. So grinding your teeth in the middle of the night, or sore calf muscles down the front is, can be low B12 and iron, but it also can be parasites. So yeah, I'm a big fan of parasitic cleanse. Diatomaceous earth, a good thing to take daily. For sure. I mean, there's you can take silica, you can take, just trying to think of some of the other earth type products you can take that are going to help your body detox, like I think I even took coral shells at one stage, crushed coral shells. Silica. I'm trying to think of this other one you can take. They help. Do you need them? Maybe. I mean, I don't personally go that far with things, but having said that, I take St. Mary's Thistle every day. I eat, organic foods. But am I the healthiest specimen? No, I probably really After putting this together today, I was thinking I could go a lot better on the detox front myself. The little habits that I do could definitely be improved. Paragon before, yeah, okay. That should, I hope we'll see. Yeah, teeth grinding, classic parasites. Any other questions? Headaches. Look, just some of the things as a practitioner, when I think of someone's pathways being blocked, I think of high estrogen. So I do a lot of saliva testing. And if someone comes back with high estrogen, the problem will be either they're exposed to too many estrogens, or they're not metabolizing the estrogen, which is a job of the liver, or they're not pooing them out. And if constipation is a major cause of estrogen dominance, because the longer that matter stays in the bowel, in the feces, the more likely it is it'll be reabsorbed back into circulation. So estrogen dominant states, that includes your breast cancers, your ovarian cancers, your cervical changes, fibrotic, lumpy breasts, fibroids, all estrogen dominant states. Depression, anxiety, until proven otherwise, is in women is a hormone imbalance nowadays, as far as I'm concerned, or a food intolerance. Weight, for sure, be a detox element component to that. Sleep problems. So sleep can be a couple of things, and I should do a webinar on sleep specifically, but broken sleep, headaches, liver. In fact, we used to say when I was starting off in naturopathy, if someone's not sleeping, help their liver and you'll improve their sleep. It's no surprising this hops plant is helping people sleep. It works differently, but it certainly works along, well, it works on the cortisol pathway. So you want to lower someone's cortisol at night, which isn't necessarily the role of the liver, but it is interesting how cortisol activates the liver. Oh, yeah, cool. So yeah, lots of ways to detoxify the liver. Definitely having 2 to 3 handfuls of vegetables a day, of your leaves and your herbs, is brilliant, brilliant. Consider teas. Like, I think over the years, the centuries we've been alive, I believe we've always drunk alcohol, but we've also drunk lots of herbal teas. Exercising your body, getting out and about, getting peristalsis moving, which is through activity, so you can poop everything out every day. Lots of water, vitamin D. Yeah, they're kind of the general things. So if there aren't any other questions, I hope you enjoyed tonight. And oh, Lucy, can I address that off here? I don't understand why that would be at all. But maybe you should only have it in the morning and not later in the day. Interesting. Not common at all, actually, that one. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for jumping on, and enjoy the rest of your night. And yeah, see how you go with your detox. Very, very important. All right. See you later. Bye-bye.